All right, welcome back. Good evening and Happy New Year. Call to order this January 13, 2026 hybrid administrative meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. All commissioners are present with us in person today. We're going to start with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Please rise and join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Barbara Baca. Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Yes, thank you. The additions and changes for our meeting are as follows. Suspension of the rules is requested for 12A. This is a county clerk, a resolution adjusting precinct boundaries and creating new precincts in Bernalillo County. Items sponsors requesting suspension of the rules for final adoption consideration at introduction to prepare for the March filing date and primary election, and the item be moved to consent as item 8H. In addition, the commissioners, data centers and AI projects in Bernalillo County and legislative priorities related to data centers and AI projects be added to the agenda and heard as item 12D under the introduction of resolutions. A vote is required for both actions. And I think in addition to that, we've had some changes to corrections to an item. Is that accurate, Julie?
Thank you, Madam County Manager. I do not believe we have any other
No corrections?
changes,
Okay,
no.
great, thank you.
Okay. I would make a motion to adopt the agenda with the aforementioned changes for immediate action on the clerk's item for precincts and for late add for the data center item.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Barbara Baca. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal in the affirmative. Yes. Any opposed? Passes on a 5-0 vote. All right, and next up, we've got our election of chair and vice chair. So we're going to start with nominations for those positions. And so I'd like to make the nomination for my colleague who's served alongside me in the position of vice chair to be elected as the new chair for the 2026 year, Commissioner Adrienne Barboa.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Barbara Baca. Any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Frank Baca as vice chair. Are we just doing chair right now?
I don't know how we normally do that.
Chair.
Chair, and then we'll switch over. All right. So with that, if there's no other nominations, we'll close the floor. And so all those in favor of Commissioner Adrienne Barboa as the new chair, signal in the affirmative. Yes. Any opposed? All right, I believe that passed on a 5-0 vote. And with that, I'll do the whole ceremonial passing of the gavel to the new chair. Congratulations.
Thank you for the nomination and for trusting me. I hope to serve you well. I will serve you well. Thank you. Great. So as I take over our script now, I would like to take nominations for 2026 vice chair position.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Frank Baca.
Second.
Thank you. And I would, gosh, I'm like losing myself. I feel. Great. As we transition, we'll take a round of vote. Sorry. Please call the roll. Or all those in favor. We're here. All those in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Yay, passes unanimously. Unanimously. Okay, as we transition to the new chair, I would like to present Commissioner Eric Olivas with a plaque for his service as the 2025 board chair. I just want to say that I have loved working with Commissioner Olivas, Chair Olivas. It has been such a pleasure to just have his thought process, how to really see. I feel like sometimes I could see farther on the horizon thanks to the way he brings in information and really thinks about policy in our community. So I'm really honored and thank you for your service as chair for this year.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Baca, Barbara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just also want to echo that, and I really appreciate Commissioner Olivas for his professionalism and his tenacity and hard work. Sometimes it kept us here way too late, but no, I really appreciate your work, and thank you for serving in that.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Olivas, Chair.
Just a quick point of privilege here. I just want to say, as a lifelong resident born in Loveless Gibson Hospital, it's really just been really the honor of my lifetime to be the chairman of my hometown county commission. An incredible honor to serve alongside all of my distinguished colleagues and represent our county, my hometown. Really very few honors that I imagine having in my life equal to this, and it's just been a real pleasure and an honor, and thank you to my colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and I look very much forward to working with now Vice Chair Frank Baca. Okay, moving on to item 5, Open Meetings Act. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor, any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes. Oh, I didn't ask for an AR. Thank you. Clerk Kavanaugh, Madam Clerk, can you please provide?
Congratulations, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Item 5A is AR 2026-1.
Wonderful. Any further discussion on the item 5A? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Thank you. All passes unanimously. On to item 6A. And we have proclamations. We have Commissioner Frank Baca and Commissioner Walt Benson with a proclamation. Please. Who would like to start?
Commissioner Baca.
Vice Chair.
All right. We have some guests in the studio, in the chambers that I'd like to introduce. Ultimately, I'll let Commissioner Benson do that honor here shortly. But I would like to start by reading a proclamation that was drafted in the honor of the New Mexico Global Football Program this past year's accomplishment. And so I'm going to read this. Acknowledging the University of New Mexico football program led by head coach Jason Eck received an outstanding 9-4 record in the most recent season, winning all home games and earned a postseason bowl game berth, the program's first bowl appearance in 9 years. Acknowledging that local athletics serves as a unifying force for the community, bringing together residents, students, alumni, and visitors in support of New Mexico's flagship university. Acknowledging that the success of UNM athletics extends beyond competition, generating significant economic benefits for Bernalillo County, including an estimated $75.18 million in annual economic impact from athletic events, camps, and non-athletic events held in athletic venues within the Albuquerque marketplace, as well as $157 million in direct and indirect revenue impact over the past 3 years. Acknowledging that athletic events hosted by the University of New Mexico contribute to the cultural and economic vitality of the region by attracting visitors, supporting local businesses, creating jobs, and generating additional economic activity, including an estimated $1.21 million in annual student-athlete personal expenditures, resulting in a gross economic impact of approximately $1.85 million per year in Albuquerque. acknowledging the dedication of UNM student athletes, coaches, staff, and university leadership, which reflects a commitment to excellence, teamwork, and community engagement that inspires future generations. Acknowledging Ryan Behrman on his appointment as interim athletic director and supporting continued collaboration to recognize and promote the economic impact of UNM athletics during this leadership transition. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize and commend the University of New Mexico Lobo football program for its outstanding season and celebrates the lasting economic, cultural, and community impact of UNM athletics on Bernalillo County, done this 13th day of January 2026 in Bernalillo County, State of New Mexico, presented this January 13, 2026. If I may, Madam Chair, just a few comments, and then I'm going to turn over to Commissioner Benson to introduce our guests and to add comments. But those of you that are in attendance here, I would like to, in terms of the players, I want to congratulate you on your accomplishments. And it's the values that led to those accomplishments. Work ethic, that's an old-fashioned concept, right? Work ethic, commitment, teamwork, all these sorts of things are traits that are important to your success as football players, but also to your success in life. But this is even bigger than that. This is important to celebrate and acknowledge you, but this is bigger. What you brought to our community, the energy, the excitement, the pride. I didn't get to go to Phoenix, but I understand there are 10 to 15,000 New Mexicans there, including some of my relatives. And it's not just the benefit to the students and as an additional benefit to not just the student athletes, but the students, the university, the faculty, the staff, and more importantly, to our entire community that you represented. And I believe that sports, like other forms of entertainment, arts, music, etc., are not only of the spice of life, but there's something that just add so much quality to our lifetime memories. My best memories, some of my best memories, all three of my sons were involved in sports. And some of my best memories of having them at the ball field, at University Stadium, buying hot dogs and popcorn, and having them just enjoy themselves. And it's even bigger than that. When these quality of life activities and projects meet excellence, that brings economic development, that grows our community, that gets people excited, that want to be involved, that want to spend money, and it's just simply a vibrant dynamic. And I've made this argument before in different contexts on this dais about the benefits of these sort of activities and the importance of this, not just for the athletic aspect of it, but the importance of it as an economic development tool and driver, and something that we will be talking about more, hopefully, in this commission in the months ahead. So, gentlemen, players, and the others that are here, congratulations. We're all proud of you, and when the Lobos win, we all win. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, I just want to add on to that. And I know Ms. Berryman and my friend Jack Fortner are here, and you brought some athletes, and I saw some other red shirts in the audience. So if you could, please come up to the podium. And this recognition is for, yeah, please, all of you. This recognition is, I'm honored to be part of it. And thank you, Commissioner Baca, for spearheading this. And I couldn't agree more. I think often with school, people are thinking about grades and jobs, and sports can take a back seat. But when you look at the success of a university, often it's tied to the sports. And as the sports teams are doing well, it rallies the community around the school, and then it rallies the students who are more eager to go to that school because there's more of a sense of pride. And then those students get better grades and then they get better jobs. And so it's an engine for the university itself. And it's so exciting to see UNM just starting to climb back up, especially the football program, especially given the new rules. NIL, it's changed the playing field, makes it a lot trickier, but there's still strategies you can do. The more you win, and the more donors give, and then the more money you got to play that game again, and then that benefits the whole community. And then you've got the ripple effect through the economy, where you've got people coming to town for games, or going downtown close to the stadium, or going out to eat after the games. Families coming in to watch their kids play. It's an entire economic generator, but it's also just good for the spirit. And UNM is the flagship for New Mexico. And so as a Lobo, and I believe all of us Lobos, we're proud of you guys. So thank you. And we do have a plaque to give you, but first, please share your words.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Benson. My name is Jack Fortner, and I'm on the Board of Regents, and actually have been since 1998. One of the few regents. I've been appointed by 4 governors, been very fortunate to stay on. But I also did 4 terms as a county commissioner in San Juan County. And so understand how counties work. And I would like you to know that I've also been the chair of the Health Science Committee at UNM Board of Regents. And I really championed the idea of UNM Health Science taking over the medical care at the jail. And one of the things I told our people was, look, it's a difficult job, but if we don't see them there, we'll see them at our hospital. And so it's a good thing for both the county and for UNM. So we have a lot of partnerships with UNM and Bernalillo County. I would tell you that here's an idea, because UNM athletics is such an important economic asset to Bernalillo and San Juan County. We got left out in the last conference realignment. One of the schools that made it was San Jose State. I'm thinking, San Jose State over UNM? Well, I don't know if you knew this, but San Jose State, their county commission voted a mill levy that gave them, I think, about an additional $25–30 million just to the athletic program. Now, I put that in your back of your mind and think, well, wait a minute, talk about a partnership. I mean, I tell our athletic director would say we have a regent suite. Could you imagine a Bernalillo County suite because of that mill levy? Something to think about. I also wanted to briefly introduce Sam Gonzalez. He is the chair of the San Juan County Commission. He sits on the county commission in San Juan County with my wife, Terry Fortner, who is actually the president of New Mexico counties, and she is in Washington, D.C. right now, or she'd be here with me. But with that saying that, I'd like to introduce Ryan Berryman, who many years ago was a student regent when with me on the Board of Regents. I used to get to boss him around. I don't anymore, but I'd like to introduce Ryan Berryman, our athletic director.
Thank you, Regent Fortner, for the introduction, and thank you, county commissioners. As a kid that grew up in Bernalillo County in San Diego Park, New Mexico, I'm very grateful for your service and to be here tonight. I'd like to recognize the guys that are here with me tonight. They're on break right now, and they took time to come down here tonight. So with us tonight, we have Jack Lane, who's our starting quarterback from last season. We have Jackson Eck, who was the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year last season. And Coach Luke Schleissner, who's our offensive coordinator. All those trick plays you saw last year, that's the brains behind the operation right there. So, yeah, we'll give him some credit. The best part about all 3 of these guys is they're all coming back to UNM next year. So I'm very appreciative of them. So just real quickly, I'll give these guys their flowers. The commissioners mentioned it already, but first 9-win season since 2016, first undefeated season at home since 1962, first sellout since 2008, and the first ever win over a Big Ten program. So these guys deserve a lot of credit. So as we move forward, just please know that UNM Athletics is open to all forms of partnership. Look forward to working with the commission on how we can better engage the community in Lobo athletics. As Regent Fortner mentioned, inspired by other ideas that other counties have pursued to invest back in sports and their programs. So please know that our doors are open. And if you're lucky enough to get out of here by 7 o'clock tonight, we got a Lobo basketball game against Grand Canyon. So we'll hope to see you there. Yep, go Lobos.
Please come up.
I would say this, the mayor called me and said, please make sure that Coach Yak does not run for mayor.
Come up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Looks like Jack's the lucky angel. What?
That was great, thank you. And thank you to San Juan Commissioner Gonzalez, I believe, for here. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Okay, we have one more item 7A. Oh, wait, sorry. We are moving into item 7, public comment and communications. We will now move on public comment. Before we hear communications, each person has 2 minutes, and you will be alerted about your remaining time. When your name is called, please make your way to the podium if you're speaking in person. Before making your statements, please state your name for the record to maintain order and decorum and in the spirit of professionalism and respect for everyone present. Speakers must adhere to the 2-minute time limit. If the conduct of the presenter violates the rules, they may be subject to removal. Javier, please call the names of our speakers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening, we have a total of 8 speakers in person and 2 speakers on Zoom. Please line up at the podium when your name is called, and when it is your turn to speak, please state your name for the record. We will start with Shannon Molina Cordova, followed by Stephen Verchinsky, followed by Bernice Estrada.
You can just make your way up.
Stephen Verchinsky, followed by Bernice Estrada, followed by Emmett Yepa.
Hello.
Can you see that?
A little better positioned, maybe. There you go.
I'm almost tech savvy.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Stephen Berchinsky, longtime resident Bernalillo County. This cover sheet has to do with the history. On November 5th, 2025, the State Legislative Committee on Investments and Pensions and Oversight met. Presentation was given, and as a result of what happened in Senate Bill 72 and 22 passed during COVID 2020, retirees had lost income that they were counted on, promised by their former employers and statutes governing their work agreements. We're talking thousands of dollars of loss, and it's already impacted me, and I've been retired for a number of years. So I'm really not happy about this, but county employees should be really concerned about this because they're looking forward to having their pensions basically diminished with the current cost of living allowances. Their value of their public employee retirement pension will shrink to over half of its 2019 value in 25 years. So if this isn't addressed by the legislature, which I would ask the county commissioners to send up a resolution that this be addressed by both the legislature and the governor. Any questions?
Thank you.
Bernice Estrada, followed by Emmett Yepa, followed by Bernadette Hardy.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Berenice Estrada, and I am here on behalf of the Semilla Project. We work with BIPOC youth, workers, and families across Bernalillo County to build pathways to climate justice, economic development, and community-led development. We appreciate the county for leading the public benefit, especially as AI and data center developments accelerates here in New Mexico. These projects are not neutral. They have real impacts on water, energy, systems, workers, and the cost of living. This resolution sends an important message. Economic development must work for the people who live here, not just for corporations. We strongly support the focus on in-state hiring, registered apprenticeships, and living wages. If these projects are going to receive public support, they must invest in local workers, partner with local workforce institutions, and build real career pathways, not just temporary construction jobs. While a strong implementation and community partnerships, this policy can ensure that any AI or data center developments in Bernalillo County truly delivers a net public benefit for our people, our land, and our communities. Economic development without accountability is extraction. We urge the county to keep public benefit, worker dignity, and climate resilience at the center as this resolution advances. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Emmett Yepa, followed by Bernadette Hardy, followed by Monique Hardy.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Emmett Yepa. I am speaking on behalf of the Semilla Project. Our organization works with BIPOC youth, workers, and families throughout Bernalillo County to advance climate justice, expand economic opportunity, and support community-driven development. We commend the county for prioritizing public benefit as AI and data center development continues to expand. These facilities are not neutral investments. They place significant demands on water and energy systems, affect labor standards, and influence the cost of living, burdens that are felt most acutely in desert environments and frontline communities. This resolution makes clear that economic growth must be grounded in community benefits, not corporate gain alone. We strongly support the resolution's emphasis on in-state hiring, registered apprenticeship programs, and living wages. When public incentives or resources are involved, developers must be held to clear standards. That means investing in local workers, partnering with trusted workforce and training institutions, and creating long-term career opportunities rather than relying solely on short-term construction labor. With strong implementation and genuine community partnership, this policy can ensure that AI and data center development in Bernalillo County produces a true net benefit for our people, our land, and our shared future. Economic development without accountability is extraction. As this resolution moves forward, we urge the county to continue centering public benefit, worker dignity, and climate resiliency. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Bernadette Hardy, followed by Monique Hardy, followed by Silas Grant.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Bernadette Hardy. I am a Jemez Pueblo and Dene and a resident of Bernalillo County, District 3. I live next to Kirtland Air Force Base, and we have witnessed and live with the health impacts of Superfund site. District 3 has been subject to jet fuel spills, contaminated air, toxic groundwater, and toxic soil. And now a threat is being added to this list, AI data centers. AI data centers are detrimental to our communities and our state. When data centers enter a community, research does show that the residents foot the bill for increased electric, increased water bills, something that Albuquerque does not need. Our neighbors do not need their health compromised for the sake of an AI data center, where there are increased cancer rates, and not to mention the toxic produced water that comes from these data centers, alongside with how property values plummet when a data center is built next to communities. And in New Mexico, we have tribal communities that do not even have access to running water, and we do not need AI data centers to have access before our own people. AI data centers are not ethical, not environmental friendly, and not fiscal responsible. Do not approve this. AI data centers will not enhance our state, only harm them. Thank you.
Monique Hardy, followed by Silas Grant, followed by Alexander Kaltenbach.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Monique Hardy, and I am a concerned citizen of District 3. I oppose the construction of data centers and AI projects because of the significant amount of water they would consume. Since New Mexico is a desert, I question where these facilities will source water to operate, and I am concerned about the impact on communities where water is already scarce. Please keep data centers out of New Mexico. Thank you.
Silas Grant, followed by Alexander Kaltenbach. Alexander Kaltenbach.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm expressing concern regarding the deployment of automated license plate readers and their integration into the real-time crime center via Fusus. While intended for safety, these tools may increase the digital side door that violates both City Resolution R18-7 and County's own Keep New Mexico Families Together framework. In December 2025, security researchers showed that Flock ALPRs contained hard-coded administrative passwords allowing unauthorized users to control devices as well as access and delete data. This is not a mere glitch. It is a catastrophic failure of the chain of custody that risks compromising any prosecution relying on this data. Whether or not the county uses Flock specifically, this breach highlights the inadequate security standards employed by vendors like Flocks and Nexus. The Safer Community Places Ordinance was recently passed to protect sensitive locations like hospitals and schools, but these cameras often utilize federated search, which allows out-of-state agencies such as ICE and Texas law enforcement to query our local data without a warrant. They do not need to ask the sheriff, they simply ask the software. This allows external actors to track immigrants and women traveling for reproductive health care, effectively nullifying the physical protections that have been legislated. These are distinct from speed cameras. They are separate technology. They track every single car passing by the camera, and they keep that data from anywhere from 14 days to 1 year. The sheriff has a report that I think says they keep the data for 14 days, but APD has a separate report that potentially means that they keep the data for up to a year. As that data is retained for longer periods, it turns from a public safety tool that helps track stolen cars and track criminals through the city to a dragnet that tracks everybody in the city. Thank you for your time, Commissioners.
Thank you.
We will now move to our online speakers. Sophia Martinez.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, good evening, members of the commission. Madam Chair, congratulations on your new appointment. My name is Sofia Martinez. I'm co-coordinator of Los Jardines Institute here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We do our work around environmental, economic, and food justice. And I want to thank you all for your public service, right? It's very much like organizing, which is the kind of public service that we do at Los Jardines in terms of organizing and educating our public, right? Tonight I'm here because we really want to again speak as former speakers against the evolution of data centers here in New Mexico. Right now, data centers are primarily focused in the East Coast, and doing research on those initiatives, we found that basically they require a lot of water. I don't need to explain to this commission those issues with water here in New Mexico. In addition to that, electrical prices have gone up in all these states that have been inundated with data centers. They are looking now to go out west, specifically in areas where indigenous and people of color live, in more rural areas, because there's more space, right? Again, the data centers that power AI, that power Facebook, that power all these basic virtual centers need a lot of water. I mean, just think of your own computer and how hot it takes. So just think of the amount of acreage it'll take to put up all these computer systems to run all these processes, and the amount of water, and again, the energy that will be required, which will basically raise prices for utilities for all New Mexicans. And as board members, you all really need to take that into consideration. You know, as we develop our economics, we understand that we need to develop a good economic system, but as mentioned earlier, we need to make sure that it is our people that are hot.
Thank you.
Beth Moore.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Beth Moore. I'm one of your own city's internationally recognized artists. I got late notice of this meeting about the AI data centers, but I wanted to come on and have my say about it. I find it unbelievable that this is an idea that's even being considered. Currently, I mean, my family's lived here since 1969. There's supposed to be snow on the mountains all through the winter, deep snow. We went up to the crest, there wasn't any. There's insects flying around here in January. That's not supposed to happen. And the Rio Grande now dries up in Albuquerque every year. Even to consider the idea of these data centers, to me, I'm rapidly losing my respect for any authorities that would consider such an idea. And anyone who would vote for something like this, I would consider unfit to govern. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, once said, AI will probably lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there'll be great companies. These kids that you had up at the beginning of the meeting, the UNM students, athletes, voting in favor of these AI data centers will effectively end their future. It's despicable, really. The Pew Research Center found that only 17% of Americans anticipate a positive impact from AI over the next 20 years. Currently, data centers
Thank you, Mrs. Moore. Thank you, Ms. Beth Moore. We've heard you. Your 2 minutes are up.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Chair.
If I may just have a brief point of privilege here to respond to, just to correct the record a little bit. I would just encourage all of our public commenters to really read through the resolution that's being offered on data centers. Currently, there are no regulations on data centers in Bernalillo County. If they come to us with a proposal, frankly, it's pretty much open season. And what this resolution does is it puts forward some basic, but I believe very stringent regulations on what the county would accept as being a reasonable use of public dollars to incent a data center. And I think that it sets a very high bar for what that looks like. And so if you look at other data centers that have popped up around the state and certainly around the nation, they would not qualify for county incentives under my bill. And so I believe that it's actually very much in line with what some of our commenters in the room and online have said, is that this really requires this technology and these, multi-trillion-dollar companies that purvey it to meet a very high standard in order to operate in Bernalillo County. And so I know we'll be discussing that more later, but I just wanted to say that before some of our public commenters might step out. I don't want there to be any confusion about what I'm trying to do here. This is not to try and bring more data centers to our community. It's to try and regulate them and ensure that if they come, it is a very high bar that they are required to meet, including offsetting all of their water use, offsetting their energy use and paying their own way. Anyway, we'll get into it later. I don't want to take up too much time now, but I just want to make sure that people are clear. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No problem. Thank you so much. That was the last of the,
Thank you, Madam Chair. This completes our public comment.
thank you, Javier. And now we'll move on to, thank you for all those that did public comment. I hope you will be able to stay around for that vote and or watch us online. We'll move on to item 7A, inspection report of the Metropolitan Detention Center. Our previous chair, Olivas, would you like to open up for us?
Sure, just briefly, thank you, Madam Chair. And one of the requirements of the job of being chair is actually that there is an annual inspection of the Metropolitan Detention Center required of that position. And so really it was very eye-opening and very insightful for me to be able to tour the facility with our warden and some of the management team there, including Mr. Sanchez here, who will be presenting the report. But this was created in collaboration between myself and Mr. Sanchez and the legal team to really just document the conditions that we saw there, and the issues and some of the strengths and weaknesses. And so with that, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for this time. I just wanted to go through real briefly a little quick slide presentation about the inspection that former Chair Olivas conducted. And so the authority for this inspection comes from and is required by the New Mexico State Statutes 33-3-4. In that statute, it requires that each governing body of county or municipality shall conduct an annual site visit to the jail or detention center under its jurisdiction to inspect the overall conditions at the facility. Following a site visit, an inspection report shall be presented at a regular meeting of the governing body. So that is what we're here today to discuss and to make sure that we meet the requirements of the statute. As it indicates on this first slide, the purpose of this inspection, beyond what was outlined in the statute, is to evaluate security, operations, staffing, medical, mental health services, and inmate programs. So on May 23rd, 2025, Commissioner Olivas did his inspection. Also present was County Manager Cindy Chavez, County Attorney Ken Martinez, as well as Warden Stephen Smith and other MDC leadership to help give guidance on the inspection. And that inspection did last about 2 hours, give or take. So just to touch on briefly some of the observations and impressions from that inspection, I believe you all provided a copy of the report. So it certainly goes into more detail about all the different things that we were able to review. But just a few of them, we started with security. When you first enter the facility, you're greeted by a sally port. At the sally port, that's kind of the main entrance for professional visitors. So your MDC employees, your attorneys, just other professionals, medical professionals that might be entering the facility, they have to enter through that sally port. That's the main entrance. That sally port is equipped with body scanning technology as well as allied security personnel. It's a contractor that the county uses for entrance into the facility. With respect to the other entrance, should you be an inmate and be taken to MDC, we have what's called the law enforcement area. That's where the sheriffs and the APD will take. It's on a different side of the facility. That side of the facility is run and operated by MDC employees so that each individual can be processed, can be gone through the process, identified, medical needs examined. Additionally, on this tour, we were able to visit the pods. So pod is effectively like a housing unit. That's kind of the short term for it. What that is that's where the inmates stay at MDC. Each of those pods can hold 64 people, and they have kind of different designations, different purposes. Delta Pod was one of the pods that we visited. That is one of the work detail pods. And so in that pod, the inmates who are in those pods are in good standing. They've demonstrated good behavior in the facility. And so as a result, they've given the opportunity to do various work details at the facility. One of those is the laundry facility. This program gives inmates opportunity to work on the laundry while they're there. So they wash the orange uniforms, but they also provide a free personal laundry service for inmates. So if inmates know that they're getting out of custody and they, wanted to get their clothes clean before they leave, they would be able to use that service that the inmates run. Additionally, we did take a brief walk through the kitchen, which is also a work detail. So the inmates also do the work in the kitchen. As you'd imagine, our population varies a lot, but it's usually over 1,500 a day, and so there's a lot of people, and 3 meals a day, so approximately 5,400 trays are being washed every single day by our inmates. Meals are being served by our inmates. During this inspection, we were also able to learn and review some of the educational opportunities for inmates. Some of those include and are facilitated by the tablets. The MDC has purchased tablets for the inmates, and in those tablets, we do have a law library. We do have over 1,000 books for reading. We also have voting education messaging for them to review so that they can be educated on voting and their rights to do so, as well as messaging that the facility needs to relay to the inmates. Beyond those services, social work caseworkers are also able to provide social services. That includes a GED program, a Gordon Burnell High School, so an actual high school diploma program as well. And the caseworkers also help the inmates with numerous other services to help them when they are released back into the community. Back to the purpose of some of the different pods, the different units. Some of those units are specific for various needs. As you would know, many of the inmates that come to us are either in a difficult way in terms of their health, their mental well-being, their addiction, just many things that they're dealing with. And so MDC has various pods that help address each of those problems. So they do have in conjunction with UNMH, a detox program. So we do what we can with the guidance of UNMH to address those that are in need of detoxing services, as well as mental health services. MDC also provides medical and dental services. So when an inmate is there, they do have access to all their basic health needs to be met. So one of the things that Commissioner Olivas did mention in his report was that there was some PREA compliance measures. So PREA is the federal law regarding, it's the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And so one of those measures that I think Commissioner Olivas mentioned was the buzzing of the doorbells. So whenever you go into a opposite gendered unit, you're required to, for PREA compliance, use the buzzer to notify everybody in the unit that an opposite gender is coming on the unit. So that was another thing that was observed. Another thing Commissioner Olivas noted in his report was the different color-coded uniforms. So at the MDC, there are, I believe, 3 main colored uniforms. There's the orange for standard, there's the striped one that indicates detoxing individuals, and then there's the red that indicates a high-risk individual that may have a history of violence. And the purpose of that was to just create a safer environment so that the MDC employees can readily identify the inmates' needs. And so finally, commissioners, with respect to conclusions and recommendations, the MDC does fulfill an important public safety mission. And so we're very grateful to all the commissioners for your time and attention, for Commissioner Olivas for spending that time with us and the other commissioners that have joined us. As noted in the report, the staff has demonstrated a strong commitment despite some of the resource constraints. Obviously, it's a very large facility. There are issues keeping the facility staffed. And so despite those issues, the MDC leadership has done a very good job making the most out of the resources that they do have. Also, technology programming, medical services have all shown meaningful progress. And then finally, we would just note, as noted in the report, that we are hoping to transition to 12-hour shifts that'll help us deal with some of the employee numbers. So that should basically create more people effectively. It doesn't actually make people, of course, but it allows less people to do more work and more of the job, so that if we are short-staffed, we're still able to meet our obligations. And then finally, I did also note from Commissioner Olivas's report, he had mentioned that on the way there, there was a lot of debris and a lot of trash and things like that on the road there. And so he definitely wanted us to encourage us to restart the program that was previously implemented to help clean up that area. And that is something that we hope to expand in the future as well as we get staff to do so. And just finally, we just thank the Commission for your ongoing support for MDC's important public safety work. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, if I may, just to close this up, want to give my gratitude to the warden and all of his staff there. You know, I did note in my time there, if it wasn't captured in the report, that I really did feel that morale was pretty good there under the circumstances, and we have some really hardworking staff that are just doing the absolute best they could with what they've got. It was, I believe it was a Monday or maybe it was a Tuesday after like a holiday weekend. So because of the court schedule and staffing and all those kinds of things, it was short-staffed and high population on that day that I was there, because nobody had been let out for a couple days because of the courts, and a lot of people had called in, right? It's a holiday weekend, people have families and things going on. So it was challenging. There was definitely a shortage. Some of the pods were short-staffed, but the folks that were there were really doing the absolute best they could to keep people safe and to ensure that the facility is operating smoothly. So I really do want to emphasize these recommendations that we need to continue and double down on our support. We've got a McClendon lawsuit that's been going on for far too long at that facility, and I think that we can really be the commission and management team that gets us out of that. Let's make that our goal. Let's make that a reality, because that's a really good thing, not just for the county and sort of our organization, but a really good thing for our community, and I think we can achieve that. And some of these smaller things can really help us get there, right? Giving people the opportunity to work, giving people the opportunity to use their time productively to benefit themselves and our community. And it all goes back to, if we want to get the road cleaned up and the trash out of there, we need more staff, because they have to be able to supervise the inmates doing that work. So just want to make sure that we continue to focus there. I know we have, and I think we will continue that work. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Olivas. Any other questions? Of course, I have a little question. I did see on the slide, and thank you for presenting the materials, that it said transitioning to constant care, and it said cameras assisted monitoring. Could you just explain what that means to me, please?
So I'm trying to push the light and it's not really coming on, so I'm just going to use my adult voice. There it is. Got to look there. Madam Chair, I appreciate that question. So what we're looking at doing is putting cameras in all of the high liability cells for the population that needs eyes on them all the time. That'll allow us to have better resource management with our most notable resource, which is our staff. It records everything in there, so which during incidents, as part of the investigator, we'll be able to see what happened prior, during, and after. This will help improve the overall oversight of that vulnerable population. And we're looking at for both the mental health and the detox areas as our first rollout. And then we will reassess how effective that's been to come back before the commission to see if we can seek funding to continue that in other areas. But that's the primary, is to get more eyes in the cells to allow us to have recorded, interaction of what happened in that cell. So thank you.
Thank you, Warden Smith. Appreciate that. And I look forward, I think, I just want to say, even in these years, I've really seen that our staff out there at MDC really work hard, are on the hustle, even short-staffed. I just see them working. You could lose morale and be like, I'm just not going to, I've seen them working hard and continue up their hard work. So thank you for your leadership and for all our folks at MDC. Any other, you want to close us? Oh, yes, Commissioner Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments or questions, I guess, or both. Just to echo the comment by Commissioner Olivas about the program to clean the area. And it wasn't just the road, because I remember when that was an active program, and it wasn't just that road, it was throughout the entire community. And it was a great asset and benefit for the community. It helped out in all sorts of different organizations and areas, and it was a thriving program, and then it imploded because of some controversy that I think there was a real huge overreaction to what happened, and it took away not just the opportunity to beautify our city and county, but opportunity for inmates to be outside and to be rewarded to some extent for being able to get out in the fresh air and do something constructive. So I would echo that, and I think I'd mentioned that once before when I went to my tour to just look at the jail. I think that's a great program. I hope we continue to do that. And another question that I have, and I just bring this up because of my previous experience at one of my jobs, as you may or may not know, was as a both actually as a criminal defense attorney at one time and as a prosecutor at another time. And the question that has been raised over the years, just in talking to people, is in terms of the scanning and of not just inmates but employees. I just want to understand that, because I've been told, and I don't know it to be true, but I've been told by various people that have been in the facility, both as inmates and as attorneys representing them, that there is a high incidence of contraband being taken into the jail by employees. I don't know that to be true or not, but that's certainly been told. And so my question in terms of the scanning opportunities, not just for inmates, but into employees, because that creates another health hazard for employees in the fact that if there are any contraband that are being taken in by one form, fashion, or another. So I would just like to understand that.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Baca. So that's a great question, and it's an unfortunate reality of the profession I'm in. We do face that, and throughout my career in previous institutions, we've had that. So the equipment is as good as the operator, and that's no slight on anybody that's doing it. But if you truly want to get something into a facility, and I really hope that nobody's listening that has that intent, you're going to find a way. So during the searches, contraband can look like anything when it's taken out of, easy knives, forks, stuff like that are easy catches, and they're usually unintentional, those metals that come in. But any slight medication, anything that is not in a solid form, those things, it's a guess at to what it is, and you have to have reasonable suspicion to go at that person. We do everything we can to monitor phone calls for the inmate population, because generally that's where it's going to go, to see if we can ascertain where it's coming in from. We are working, and it is one of the requirements of the McClendon, to try and track down where these are coming from. And I will never say that any facility in this country does not face that issue. We all do. So all we can do, and we're looking at it right now, is to use technology. So we're looking at a new scanner for not only the body scanner, but we also have the traditional one that you see at TSA in the airport, the baggage scanners.
So we're looking to see if there is a little more updated now that AI has been out for a little bit more time that can help us, because we do use that with the body scanners. But again, unfortunately, the person reading it, their experience, not intent, there's no malintent, but your experience and what you're looking at does determine whether or not you're going to catch it or not. We see that more often coming through the LEA when we have new arrests, but that shows us that that is prevalent also in the front, that if somebody wants to try and you don't have that experience or, unfortunately, the expectation, you know, if any one of you or any one of us to come there, we would be a little offended if you thought that. So that aggressiveness may come, you know, be toned down a little bit for the staff that are coming in, that you assume that the background check's been done and your due diligence to ensure that this person coming in you believe is with good intent. But again, 27 years in the business, it's not if, it's just when, and it's unfortunate. As to, I hope that answers your question. And
Well, my question is in terms of the procedures, not just specifically for staff, separate, are these the same procedure for staff as is for inmates coming in? That's really my question.
so you go through both a body scanner and your you go through a package scanner through that. So we have a list of items that can't. We also have clear bags for coming in. So we do have the procedures set to try and prevent this. Right. However, if mules are hard to find, because you'll point us in a direction, and if we have an informant that truly isn't trying to help, and we know they have a vested interest of some sort, figuring out what it is, that'll point us in a direction that's not the person they want us to look at, because we do get tips and we do follow up on it. That's why we have a STI unit that follows those to see if we need to bring in the sheriff's department if there is any substance to it. But I believe we do everything possible with the technology that we have and the manpower to prevent that. And we are looking at alternatives to improve that, to prevent that, because I've heard the same thing at this facility that I've heard at other facilities, that your staff are bringing it in. The reality is there is probably or has happened. It's just a matter of time through due diligence and investigator that we're gonna find. And like we've done with other things, we'll make an example of you. You know, we had legal support on one of our incidents not related to contraband. I'll have you arrested on site and work with the sheriff to have that if we can find that, because we know the devastation that contraband cost us when it gets into the facility. So we will do everything we can to prevent that.
Thank you.
And as far as, if I may, the first original part, which is with Commissioner Levis's intent. So we have submitted the community service program for review with the CJCC, because we are interested in getting back into that and using that as a option for the courts. It is in the infancy stages. I just submitted the policy after the MDC team went over it. Now we've submitted it over to the CJCC assigned team, and we will start going through that. There are no guarantees, but the intent is to bring back certain community service that the courts have options to sentence the population to.
Thank you.
And with that, thank you.
Oh, if I may, just one last question, and this is just clearly just wanting to make sure I'm understanding something, is on the court operation and financial consideration. You talked about the cost per inmate is, or somebody talks about this, Commissioner Olivas, is $274 factoring all expenses. I'm not sure if I understand. Is that $274 for transport? What does that figure relate to?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Maka. So I actually had that number pulled up today, expecting a question related to that. So the average daily cost currently for our population is $211.82 is what we charge. Now, for as far as cost-wise, we do break it down a little bit more between mental health, medical, and general population, and I'll be happy to get that to the board once we close out the second quarter and we have those numbers available.
So making sure I understand that those numbers are the total cost, is that correct?
He's
the number per day, the amount of money, is that total cost?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Baca, so yes, we do that as an average for what we charge, and the paper that I'll produce for you and for the fellow commissioners is going to show, based on their situation, if it's a medical housing, a mental health housing, or general population, there are different costs associated with that, so that we know with our various contracts what the impact is on that.
May I just follow up on that? Just because I want to make sure we answer the second, what I think is the second part of the question. So you now, Warden, I believe, do an assessment of total cost on a quarterly basis to better understand. And what we're trying to better understand, Commissioner, is what is the total cost per person in our custodial care a day?
Right.
And the point that the warden was raising is that depending on whether or not they're in a psychiatric part of the organization, they cost more because we're using medical services and the like,
Right.
depending on where they are in the facility. The point that the warden was raising is that one of the things that we do is that when we receive somebody who needs to be in custody and they're from another area and we're being asked to house them, we do bill that county to provide that service or the entity to provide that service to them. And this is very important for us because, as you know, the total cost of the facility is very expensive to our general fund, and we don't receive much grants or help. And so this is our way of making sure that we can continue to provide what we hope is our high-quality services for those that are in our custodial care.
Yeah, no, thank you, I appreciate it. I understand there are categories depending on the needs. I was looking for and just interested in if there's a average, or total average for all the inmates per person per day.
And that's what the warden was saying. Right now, that number is 271 on average per person per day in our custodial care.
And that will be included on the second quarter update. It'll give the total average too and the breakdown of how we came up with that.
But you're also saying it's about 211, it's gone down.
Oh, I'm sorry, 211.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Great questions. Thank you, Warden Smith. Okay, moving on. I do want to read a closed meeting statement into the record. I offer the following statement regarding the closed meeting held Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 at 2 p.m. Only those items described in the published notice and agenda for the closed meeting held on January 13th, 2026 were discussed at the closed meeting. I need a motion for approval of the statement, and it will become part of the minutes of this meeting.
Motion to approve the statement?
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Baca. Barbara Baca, all in favor, please affirm by saying aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item number 8, which is the approval of consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please provide resolution numbers for items 8F, 8G, and 8H.
Yes, Madam Chair. Item 8F is AR 2026-2. 8G is AR 2026-3. And 8H is AR 2026-4.
Thank you. And the consent agenda has been published and made available to the public. Therefore, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Second by Commissioner Barbara Baca. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Great, thank you. Passes unanimously. I'd like to take a point of privilege to thank for there is quite a few board appointments included in this, and thank for folks that do that service for our community. And I do see Tiffany Johnson in the audience. I want to thank you for your commitment to our arts board. And just to mention real quick, because I'm the chair, that Tiffany came to our International Fest and had a whole array of her art and jewelry for sale. And because she was so inspired by our community and their love and just being in community, that she actually gave away most of her products that day to our community members. And I just want to thank you for that generosity and for bringing your art and talent in service to our boards. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving. We have other appointments on there. I just want to thank everyone for their service. On to item 9, any consent withdrawals? There are none. Item number 12, adoption of ordinance and amendments to the county code. Madam Clerk, please provide an ordinance number for 10A.
Yes, Madam Chair. Item 10A is ordinance 2026-1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I think we have sponsor, Commissioner. We will now convene a public hearing. Did anyone sign up to speak? Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have no speakers tonight.
Thank you. Code of Conduct Review Board, proposed amendments, Chief Compliance Officer, or Jackie, to present. Is that true? No. Chief Compliance Officer Rocky Gutierrez.
Yes.
Sorry. I just saw
Rocky
you
and,
come up,
Ms.
Jackie.
Veronica, if you wanna-
Rocky Gutierrez. Veronica and Martha
And
Brown.
Madam Chair Brown, apologies.
Madam Chair Brown, thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, thank you. I just want to introduce Madam Chair Brown and Review Board Attorney Ms. Gonzalez and thank them for their hard work during these last 2 years and working on the amendments to the Code of Conduct. And with that, I'll let them speak. And if you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you would, Ms. Gonzalez, please.
Thank you, Rocky, and good evening, Commissioners. Madam Chair Brown and myself, Veronica Gonzalez, we're here to answer any questions that you may have. The Code of Conduct amendments, as you recall, were introduced at the November 13th meeting, and today is hopefully, fingers crossed, the day that you'll approve it in its final form. I believe there may be, some additional comments, but otherwise, we're just available to you for questions.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your hard work. Commissioner Olivas, do you want to open us up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This has been a long process. We've been working on this for quite a while. The review board even probably predates my involvement in it. So just a huge thank you to Dr. Gonzalez and Chair Brown and all the members of the board that are not here with us today, but everybody that's been involved in the review and revision process. Deeply grateful for your help making this better. I'm not going to say it's perfect. I think I've already identified some areas of concern that I think we've got to address on the next round. But I think this is way better than it was. I think this really tightens the screws on compliance, especially around financial disclosures, requirements for candidates, making sure that we have an even playing field for incumbents versus new candidates, right? Everybody's playing by the same rules, using the same dates, using the same forms. I think that's just really fair. It's consistent. And I think it also want to commend and highlight the work around elected official salaries. That's been a sticky issue for all of us. I don't think any of us really want to deal with that issue because it is kind of an inherent conflict of interest for all of us. And so I really thank you for your work on the process to try and take that away from the commission, this commission, to the maximum extent possible and ask our representatives on the review board to really try to give it an independent look at compensation and workload. And I know you guys are already working on that sort of proactively so that, assuming this passes, you'll be ready to jump into action. And so really appreciate that. There's many other things I could highlight, but I think I did a decent job of that last time. So I'll spare you on that. I do have one amendment, and this was an amendment requested by the clerk, and we worked with legal and came up with this compromise here that we think kind of solves the problem and gives a little bit more clarity into enforcement mechanisms. So I'll just read the amendment, or actually I guess first I need to make a motion for the for adoption, final adoption of the ordinance 2026-1.
Second. That has motion and a second by Commissioner Barbara Baca.
If I may,
Yes,
Madam Chair,
discussion.
so with that, I'll make the amendment and if it please the board. So this will be on page 14, section 2-131D. Delete the first sentence and edit the remainder of the section as follows. D, compliance. Upon filing of a sworn complaint, the review board can consider imposing penalties for any unfiled, late, incomplete, misleading, or false filing. A person may petition the district court to remove a candidate from the ballot who does not meet the requirements of this section as prescribed by law. So moved.
Second. Okay, that has a motion, a second. open for discussion. I guess I have a question, but I want to make sure I understand it. So it's only deleting the first sentence. Oh, and then it's for editing the rest. I just want to make sure this wasn't, can you explain to me what this does? Thank you.
Happy to try, and I'll let Professor Gonzalez jump in if need be. But really, I think the concern here was, well, this does two things. So it actually adds two avenues or both for a potential violation. So if somebody didn't file their paperwork, a complaint could be filed with the review board, where the review board could sanction a candidate with a fine. And at the same time, or separately, a person could petition the court to remove the candidate from the ballot because they have not met the requirements of the ethics ordinance. So previously, this just gave the ability to petition the clerk to remove from the ballot, and based on sort of state law, county charter, different things that the legal team and I looked at today, we felt that this was a cleaner way to do that.
Thank you. Yes.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
As to the first sentence, which says all elected officials have to comply with this, we thought that that sentence is probably a little confusing because the section applies to both electeds and candidates, and there is already a deadline in subsection A, so we suggested removing that sentence.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarity. Any further questions? Okay, there's a motion. I approve. Oh, it's been moved. All in favor, please say aye on the amendment.
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Okay, and now on the actual motion, we all in favor, please say aye.
Yes?
Passes unanimously. Oh, yes, it passes unanimously. And I did want to make a quick public comment. I was going to offer some additional amendments to, I think I just want to share both that my experience with the Code of Conduct Board, as you all know, has been wasn't a pleasant one. I feel, and I did explain this in the times that I was committed to the ethics board, was that the charter was used to weaponize, it was used as a weapon against me politically, which I think so much of this cleanup helps to make that. But what the amendment that I was going to offer was to actually, and from my conversation with Commissioner Hart-Stevens, who's my predecessor for this seat, was that, she was instrumental in creating the Code of Conduct Board. And she was saying that, really the emphasis was to say that county commissioners, any of us, cannot and should not be trying to influence any hiring or appointments to any boards that might that would be unethical. And so I guess I just want to ask the county manager as we move forward. I've heard from you that there's some changes you want to make, and that maybe there's still some improvements. I want to really recognize the work and effort you've done this far, but to really take a closer look at the commissioner interference section, which is section 2130 under the standard of conduct, and to really, I would love to work together or under the leadership to see if we can really make sure that this isn't that this is used for the purpose of really taking away that interference and not just to weaponize, to be used as a weapon against electeds.
Madam Chair, if I may, we view this as an ongoing process. We welcome all suggestions, as you suggest. We've already got some that we're aware of. We look forward to working well with all the commissioners as we've been able to do, so thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all. I know this is so much work, and I want to recognize our board that volunteers their time to serve on this important board, and especially our Madam Chair Brown.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Olivas.
I just wanted to echo your concern with commissioner interference. I will tell you, I have even greater concerns now with that than I ever did. And I'm going to butcher the quote, maybe, or maybe I'll get it right. But there's supposedly this famous quote by Joseph Stalin, the famous Russian communist dictator, where he said, show me the man and I'll find the crime. And I really do believe that section is that. It is, you can make an argument that almost anything we do is commissioner interference, because that statute, that section is so broad. It's actually over a page long. It has all these examples, and they are very detailed examples. I don't think that serves us well as a body. I don't think it respects the time of our staff and our board members, because I think that genuinely, any one of us we are probably all guilty of it, just by the nature of the job we do and the kinds of questions that we ask. And I frankly think we have to ask. Our constituents expect us to probe. They expect us to, you know, we're here to oversee a multi-million, nearly billion-dollar budget. You can't do that tiptoeing around everything and doing everything through a resolution that's passed at the board level. I think it was originally crafted, quite frankly, as a mechanism for commissioners to fight with each other, and that's exactly what it has done. And so I think we really do need to tighten that up and ask ourselves, what is the true purpose of that? And I agree with the chair, I was going to call you vice chair, that really the true intention of that is we don't want commissioners saying, hire my friend, hire this person. You need to do that, county manager, county attorney, or anyone else. I really think that's where we need to go with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Frank Baca.
If I may, thank you.
Vice
Just in light of those comments, and appreciate your bringing that to all of our attention. And I guess my question, just in terms of something I've asked from time to time, is when we had presentations from different boards and commissions, okay, what's the follow-up here? What now? So appreciate the work. I think we're, gonna go forward with this as it is, what I understand. But would there not be appropriate to make a specific request that there be continued work on that section 130 and come back within a period of time? And I know that, might be mindful of the time of our volunteer board and staff and our attorney. But if that's a concern, I don't know that I share that concern or not. I don't know until now that the issue's been raised, but I just think that may be appropriate to ask that they be requested to come back with some proposal in a reasonable period of time.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I think that is my intention in asking the county manager to come back. Thank you. I will add, if we can do that in the next 3 months, of course, flexible if needed, but that would be great to, in the next 90 days, 3 months or so, to have some deep look at that section around commissioner interference.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
Thank you. Through the chair, one is I'm happy to work closely with our team to do so. And I will share that an issue that I've raised with the chair of the Code of Conduct Board is also making sure that we are clear about the role of the Code of Conduct Board, particularly relative to our employee discipline. And so I think that I would like to take a deeper dive. One thing I will say is the Code of Conduct Board worked so hard to get this body of work through that I think anytime there was a new idea at the end, and I totally understand why, it's like, are you kidding? We've been working on this for our whole lives. So what I would like to do is I too had asked staff to do a little bit of research so I could better understand where there were conflicts between the Code of Conduct and our employee processes. And then also, as you know, us taking on the responsibility of being self-insured, I also wanted to make sure I understood what the legal ramifications were of any of these choices. So I would be happy to come back in 90 days, and I would also come back probably with some recommendations in terms of these issues as we learn what the implications may be. But I'm happy to work with the Code of Conduct Board on that.
Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
I would just like to ask, is 90 days a reasonable amount of time? I'm just saying, because it sounds like a lot of time now, but it's a lot of work and to review it and think about it and to meet. I'm just asking if that's, and I would like to include that.
I did add that hopefully flexible, because, and I think I really, I said that also because of our Madam Chair Brown's, that, thank you for saying that this is a work in progress, open to any of that. And so definitely flexible. I don't want to overload anyone with any obscure deadlines, but yes, if we could have at least a check-in on the progress made between now and then.
And I'm happy to work. Chair, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I would just add, it's exciting to us to actually get attention to our rules. We hadn't changed them for 12 years. It did take a long time to get this much done. We understand there's more. We totally agree. So while on the one hand, I'm excited about the momentum, I want to be realistic about the time frame. We have some real issues to talk about, particularly with, I think, employees. I think we hope to be able to make it better for everybody. So whether it's, I'm happy to try to schedule some meetings. We don't actually have a scheduled meeting of the board for another 3 months. So in between, we can certainly figure out what we can do in terms of meeting with the county manager, her staff, and see where we can get.
And perhaps through an initial meeting, thank you, Commissioner Baca. I think the lawyers understand how much detail goes into these, so I hear your lawyer voice there. One thing that we could do is after meeting, send to all of you a timeline that just explains what we think is actually real and possible. And I do want to acknowledge that the board's been very active and finishing up a couple of projects, so we'll work with them and then send a notice to all of you with what we expect the timeline to be and why.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Just really quickly, Chair Brown and Dr. Gonzalez, thank you so much for all of this work. This was, a yeoman's task. You guys did a lot of work for several months or years now, I guess, and I just wanted to thank you. This is very important. This is the ethics and the values reflected in a document for Bernalillo County, and that's very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
And the former Chair Olivas, thank you for your leadership on it. Thanks.
Yes, agree. Thank you so much. There are important changes in this document that are so huge and important, so thank you for all that work and for your willingness to continue to work on it. Thank you. It's passed.
Yep. Yay.
Great, thank you all. We will move on to item number 12, introduction of resolutions. And we actually don't have that one. Okay, item B, fiscal budget, accounting and budget director Jackie Sanchez to present. There you are, Jackie.
There I am.
Sorry for the confusion earlier.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jackie Sanchez, and this is a request to introduce the fiscal year 2026 second quarter budget adjustment agenda. These agenda items are presented each quarter if there are any necessary budget adjustments. The county is required to submit quarterly detailed budget adjustments to the State Department of Finance, DFA, upon approval of the Board of County Commissioners. The FY26 budget was approved by the Board of County Commissioners on May 13th, 2025. It was also approved by DFA on August 14th, 2025, per State Statute 6-6-2, NMSA 1978. The agenda consists of 4 motions to introduce a financial resolution, and I'm going to reference that as an FR, to reduce by $318,546 for parks and recreation bonds to reconcile the actual available balances. To introduce an FR in the amount of $2 million to increase the budget for the Speed Enforcement Fund for speed enforcement projects and payment to the state of New Mexico. To introduce an FR in the amount of $1,416,404 to appropriate the budget and budget, I'm sorry, general obligation, GO bond interest. And to introduce an FR in the amount of $3,442,155 to appropriate the budget and budget the FY25 interest and cash transfer from the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, ARPA, to the general fund. To summarize the motions, for motion 1, during the prior fiscal year, budget movements occurred that resulted in an imbalance within the Parks and Recreation bonds. To correct these funds, they were returned to the prior fiscal year to properly align the expenditures to restore the bond balance. There is no current financial impact associated with this item. This action is administrative and serves to completely reconcile the prior fiscal year activity. For motion 2, speed enforcement camera revenue is generated through speeding citations. The operations and maintenance, and I'll refer to that as O&M, traffic section has identified several traffic signals that need upgraded existing infrastructure that includes detection, wiring, controller cabinet, lighting, and other safety features associated with the traffic signal controls. Per state requirement, O&M is also required to send the state of New Mexico half of the revenue received monthly after expenditures. O&M will need to move revenue received into the operating budget to cover the payment to the state and upgrades for program reliability. Now for motion 3, each fiscal year, unspent bond proceeds are invested in accordance with bond covenants. Specifically, the federal tax exemption certificate for each GO bond series and the county's investment policy. Investment earnings are reviewed by series and an analysis is performed to recommend the allocation of unbudgeted interest earnings. Lastly, for motion 4, each fiscal year, unspent ARPA funds are invested in accordance with the investment policy. In accordance with the U.S. Treasury compliance and reporting guidance, state and local fiscal recovery fund, payments are not subject to federal cash management requirements, allowing ARPA funds to be placed in interest-bearing accounts and permitting retention and flexible use of interest earned. To provide a brief background for motion 1, funding was returned to the prior fiscal year to reconcile budget movements from the previous budget year. Approval of this item will complete the reconciliation with no future financial impact on this item, and no additional funding adjustments will be required. For motion 2, the rise in speeding citations has increased revenue share to the state, and budget must be adjusted accordingly. Upon approval, a budget increase in the amount of $2 million will be appropriated to the operating budget for the purpose of procuring purchase orders for projects identified in Bernalillo County and revenue share with the state. For motion 3, to allocate the funding to the appropriate expenditure categories, cash transfers totaling $1.4 million are required. And for motion 4, in the FY25, the resulting investment earnings totaled $3.4 million. The allocation of unbudgeted interest earnings requires appropriation budgeting and transfer from ARPA fund to the general fund. Staff recommends the ARPA interest to be used as gap funding for the clerk's voting warehouse facility renovations. We have supporting documentation, which includes financial resolutions and analysis forms of the following: for capital construction reduction, for reconciliation, for speed enforcement budget increase, appropriating GO bond interest allocations, and for cash transfer for ARPA fund and general fund. I stand for question.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. Any questions from Yes, Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Sanchez, this may be more of an O&M question. I'm just kind of not understanding the 2 million speed enforcement and sort of how that will be used and where that will be used, sort of how, what parameters around that.
Okay, okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lewis, thank you for the question. So the $2 million is basically we're taking it from the fund balance and reappropriating it into our operating budget. The funds that are going to be included in our operating budget, we budgeted for a certain amount to be given to the state for the repayment or the half of the payment that we get of revenues. That was understated, so we have to add more into our operating budget in order to have enough for the remainder of the year to pay for that amount that was that's being projected for the half that goes to the state. In addition to that, we do have projects that are on our that we have that we're going to be doing with that funds. There's two projects that we are looking at. One and we're just ready. We're actually ready to do that. Is the lighting at 2nd Street and Paseo, as well as the Condor-Shire intersection. So those funds are going to be being used for those two projects. So in the combination of those two, we need additional operating funds to do those projects as well as to pay for the requirements that are issued by the state.
Yes. So just a little follow-up comment on that. First, on the state piece, I just want to suggest kind of this is a longer-term effort, but it just popped in my head, and the city should be a strong ally on this. What is the state doing with that money? And my guess is it's just going into the general fund, and it's just going all over the place. And, you know, we've got a very large legislative delegation from Bernalillo County, and I really think that that money should be directed, if not back to this community, at least to statewide Vision Zero or traffic safety improvements. So that's one, and I know that you know there's probably Director Archuleta wants to say something, and then the second part is just I think next meeting we're going to be hearing our bicycle safety action plan, and it just strikes me that we really have no permanent funding mechanism for any of those projects in there. And I don't disagree, or frankly, I don't have any opinion on those projects you mentioned. I'm sure they're good, but and I'm just thinking ahead that maybe that's something we want to think about is how do we make sure that we're actually funding these traffic improvements in alignment with these plans that the commission approves. We go through all this effort of drafting a plan and such, and I know your departments do the best they can to implement it, but having a more dedicated revenue stream might be the way to go. So that's my piece. Madam Chair.
Yes, Director Archuleta.
Madam Chair, and to address one of Commissioner Olivas's questions regarding the 50% that goes back to the state, we're actually working with the city to propose a change to that, propose a change to that regulation in there that sends it back. There are both our agencies and agencies across the state are required to pay for maintenance on state roads for traffic signals, for lighting, in some instances railroad crossings. So what we're trying to work with the city and our lobbyists to propose a change. It would be required to get on the governor's call for this one, so likely we're going to push for next session to allow us to retain that other 50% and use it on state roads to go to those duties. Because I mean, we have a significant number of streetlights, which we have to pay the power, we have to pay the knockdown price for replacement and such. And then anytime that we have a number of these traffic signals, which is what Director Jaramillo has on his plan for this year, as they reach end of life, we have to replace those. And right now, a full replacement of like a four-way intersection, the signal on that one can range anywhere from like $750,000 to $150,000, depending on the size of the, or I'm sorry, $1.5 million, depending on the road. I'm losing decimal places here. So, but that's what our intent is on that one. It may be an uphill battle because, like I said, it goes into the state general fund, and they're not likely to release that. But we have approached the DOT's current administration, and they are supportive of that because for them, it doesn't go into their budget. It goes into the general fund, and so they'd like to have that put back on their roads.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Chair.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just to follow up on the comment by Commissioner Olivas in regards to the road fund, bicycle, safety, just et cetera. I mean, I was somewhat surprised, I might even say shocked, to learn that we don't have a road fund per se, that we have this fund generated from cameras. We have opportunity to apply for grants, federal grants, and we have capital outlay funding, but there is not, to my knowledge, and please, I'm more than happy to be corrected if I'm wrong about this, but what I understand, that we don't have a road fund per se of a steady source of income, not one of those three just identified, to maintain roads. That is a huge issue. Certainly in my district, it's a huge issue along Corey Boulevard. I think probably the entire length of Corey Boulevard, certainly area from Central South all the way to Fleta Pueblo. And I think there should be a vehicle, and whether it's the speed camera reallocation of funding from the state, if they were to agree. There's certainly been some discussion by some of our legislators about that as well, from gross receipts tax and other mechanism. But that, in my opinion, is one of the basic functions and duties of county government. There's lots of things we talk about that are great, important, and affect lots of lives, but one of the basic functions of county government is public safety. That's just a basic function, and if our roadways are not safe for pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, in my opinion, we're not doing everything we can do. So I would hope, and we are working and thinking about something we would like to propose to the commission sometime in the near future. But I think ultimately a road fund from another source is something that's going to be extremely important and helpful for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I had a couple questions to, yes.
May Shirley respond to Commissioner?
Oh, yes, Deputy
Thank you, Chair.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Frank Baca, we do have a road fund that is funded by gas, tax, and some other items, fuel that is used for maintenance, and it's available for O&M's use. It might not be at the level that you're expecting, but it is there, and it is dedicated to that
Thank you.
That source. So
thank you.
Again, we do have something, and there is a fund there.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that clarity. My question was on the presentation, I believe, I just want to make sure I understood that it says that you have to give 50% after expenses. And I guess the after expenses is the part that feels like, let's spend.
Madam Chair, thank you for that. And that's a good point. So what it means is, when we receive, I'll just say a dollar, right? If we receive $1, 50 cents of that goes to the state. What we do with that 50 cents is we reduce that to doing the costs that are incurred to run the program. So like our law enforcement officers, our speed coordinator, their salaries and anything associated with the program is reduced from that 50 cents that we send. So essentially, what the state receives is that minus what those numbers are. So
that you've pre-budgeted. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So they may not receive the full 50%, 50 cents. They may receive 34 cents. So that's kind of what.
Because you're taking the expenses of the program out before you give the 50%.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, and yet we're still seeing that we need, and so the 2 million that is being requested to move in this budget, that is, I want to make sure I understood. I think you said that it is coming from the fund that is generated. So it's not coming out of general fund, or it's not a debt to us in that it's been generated out of this fund.
Madam Chair, that is correct, but it does not affect the general fund.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. I believe there's a motion to pass. Did we move?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Okay. Great. Moving on to item number 12C. Youth Services. We have Director Tamara Marcantel to present. Hello.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. Again, my name is Tamara Marcantel, and I serve as the Director of the Youth Services Center. Tonight, I'll be introducing 3 motions for your consideration and approval regarding our revised intergovernmental agreement with Sandoval County to house their juvenile offenders at the Youth Services Center. Just quickly, a background on that. Our current agreement with Sandoval County was implemented in 2009. It provided that Sandoval County pays Bernalillo County about $1,069,000 in order to have access to our detention beds. In turn, Bernalillo County is required to pay 70% of the revenue that we generate from our other cost of care agreements back to Sandoval County. If you look at the graph that's in your package just for last fiscal year, our cost of care agreements were at $225 a day. We generated revenue in the amount of $561,450, and almost $400,000 of that was paid back to Sandoval County. As you're also aware, this fiscal year in September, we increased our cost of care agreements to $475. So that's about 111% increase. So with the current intergovernmental agreement that we're presenting, Sandoval County will reduce their payment to Bernalillo County to $700,000. However, Bernalillo County will retain all revenue from our cost of care agreements. So we actually anticipate that this will be an increase overall. This will provide Sandoval County with approximately 3 beds during the fiscal year. And if for some reason Bernalillo County was unable to provide Sandoval County a bed, they would seek detention at another or one of the other 3 juvenile detention centers, and Bernalillo County would pay for that cost of care until we could bring that resident back to us. So the motions that are being submitted this evening is 1, approve the introduction of the revised intergovernmental agreement with Sandoval County, allowing the contribution from Sandoval County to be decreased to $700,000. And in turn, all paid out cost of care funds will be fully retained by Bernalillo County Youth Services Center, thus increasing the revenue in the general fund. The second motion, approve the introduction of a financial budget resolution budgeting the revised agreement to include a reduction of the current funding by $362,223 for a total contribution of $700,000. Bernalillo County Youth Services Center retention of all paid out cost of care funds. And third, to authorize the county manager to execute the intergovernmental agreement and any subsequent agreement or amendments associated with the agreement with Sandoval County. And with that, we'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director and DCM. Yes, Commissioner Baca.
I want to move approval. This just makes a lot of sense to me. So thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is a way better agreement than what we had, because that whole thing about they get to keep 70% of our revenue, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know I mean, that's a good deal for them. So kudos to whoever negotiated that, because it's our facility. We own the facility. And we are responsible for every problem in that facility. And that's my only slight concern with what is a much better agreement, bar none, that we have here. But I guess a question that I have initially is roughly how many inmates do we house from Sandoval County average in a given month currently?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, this is an estimate, but I would say 1 to 2 a month. Again, the 3 beds that we're providing, we should be able to provide with no issue.
Okay. Because that was my only concern there, is that we are committing one of my concerns is that we're committing ourselves to pay for any additional costs from us not having beds. And I know that we've had some issues with that, especially in the summertime when, you get more inmates in the facility, unfortunately. And so, I just don't like having our taxpayers be on the hook for anything that is not, it's not our responsibility to deal with their problems in Sandoval County. And then the other question that I know Chief Perez was aware of that I had asked is sort of the cost of care, and we can download on this offline too, but the total cost of care plus what I would call the risk factor, which is, we know how expensive that some of the liability in these facilities can be. And, luckily, I don't think your facility has had quite the level that MDC has had, perhaps, of the unfortunate, custody deaths and things like that, but it could happen, certainly. And so, it just raises a question in my mind. If an inmate from Sandoval County experienced a death or a serious injury in there, I assume based on this, we would be liable for that because it happened in our facility, correct? Or you may not want to, I think you said you may not be quite ready for that.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, so prior to our prior conversation, we need to go back and really research that. For me to answer it now, it wouldn't be appropriate. We did do just a very quick look after you posed that question to us, and we couldn't find anything that really referenced liability per se in the cost of care agreements, be it Sandoval County, San Juan, Dona Ana, or Bernalillo County. There may be some overarching CYFD language somewhere that may cover that liability or speak to it, but we're definitely tasked with doing our homework to try to figure out where the liability language is spoken about that would cover any facility for that matter in the event that something was to go wrong with an individual from outside of that respective county under a cost of care agreement.
Yeah, I'll finish there. I would appreciate if between now and the next meeting, I know you guys tried to set up a meeting with me and I wasn't available, but let's try to sit down and just talk through that. And I just want to understand that and kind of what is the daily cost of care, and then what is that potential risk factor that we may or may not have incorporated in there. I just want to really make sure that we're protecting our taxpayers from outside liability, because this is a regional facility that's not really a regional facility in the sense of who funds it. So,
Madam Chair, Commissioner Olivas, in full transparency, when we did do the increase to the cost of care, what we utilized was just what was being done with the other facilities around the area. So San Juan and Dona Ana County and Lee County being the ones that we followed. We were below all of them, so we've been riding below them for as long as I've been around, and it's just now recent that we've actually got ourselves up to where we're on par with them.
Thank you.
In cost, so the cost of care for a youth in our care.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? I had one and I lost it. Thank you very much, Dirk. Oh, I guess I just it was just more of a statement, just that agree with all what Commissioner Olivas has said, and recognizing, just like Director Mercantile mentioned, right, that we're one of 3 facilities in the whole entire state. So we do have an obligation to that, but I think even more reason for us to investigate where do the sources of that funding come from, since we're truly serving a So thank you. Thank you both for this. We've moved approval. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moves unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great, now we're on to our last item that I hope folks have been able to stick around for. Item D, and data centers and AI projects in Bernalillo County. Commissioner Olivas, would you like to open for us?
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, as I alluded to in public comment, and as we heard in public comment, there's clearly some very strong public sentiment around this topic. I think we've all seen it in the many emails that we've gotten today, over the last couple of days about this from the public. And, I have personally been very surprised by the comment that we've gotten, which has in fact generally been, if I could summarize, that this doesn't go far enough in regulating AI. And I think some of that may be a little bit of a misunderstanding of what this does, but I think it also indicates to me that there is a real mistrust in the public of AI and AI data centers, and I have that mistrust myself. I'll fully disclose. There are great promises of this technology. The purveyors of it, the billionaires and probably soon to be trillionaires of our world that hold great power and wealth because of their control of this technology, are telling us it is going to solve every problem known to man. But I think we're also seeing that it is creating new problems that man never knew about. AI chatbots becoming people's friends and limiting their outside connection to other human beings and the outside world. I mean, serious mental and social health problems that we're trying to tackle the problems of yesterday through our behavioral health initiative and those kinds of things. Yesterday and today, I should say. And here we are brewing this future that who knows what kind of problems that is going to create. And quite frankly, this resolution doesn't address any of that. I'm not able to tell you that I think this solves the problems of AI in society. It's not going to do that. We need our national leaders to step up and do that, and we'll see. Not holding my breath on that. But what this resolution does very narrowly is talk about how the county will use our public dollars as it relates to economic development with AI data center projects. And so I don't want to pick on any particular project around the state, but there have been projects that have come into communities and there have not been guidelines. There have not been any guardrails, and therefore it becomes, to a certain extent, a free-for-all. It's an open negotiation at that point between the county, its leadership, its commission, and the largest companies in the world. And I think even the best intentioned counties and commissions and leadership is going to be outgunned in that scenario, particularly where there's not a framework in place beforehand. So that's really what this resolution does, is it sets out a framework. What kind of projects do we believe will offer a benefit to our community? And to be clear, I am not advocating that AI data centers are a benefit to our community. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if we do bring one here, if they show up here knocking on our door, what parameters will give us a benefit? What parameters will actually benefit our citizens? And so that's why, to run through a few of the things that this does, right? It requires local hiring. I think that's fundamental. These things come in, we hear this with any economic development project, right? The developer, the number one thing that everybody says is jobs. This is going to bring jobs to your community. Why do we care about those jobs if it doesn't employ local people? If you're going to fly in people from Texas and Florida and California to build it and then to run it, then build it in Texas or California, is my attitude toward it. Why? I mean, that's just silly. So hire local people, step one. Step two is pay local people a fair living wage. We don't need to be giving people food stamps and Medicaid and having them on our housing assistance living in the new buildings that we're building thanks to the efforts of our leadership up here in our state. No. We need the data centers to pay the people enough that they can survive and thrive here. So that's number 2, pay the people a fair wage. Number 3 is electricity rates, and we're seeing this as a knock-on effect of these data centers. They use so much power that the electric utilities have to go out and build new power plants, new transmission lines, all this new infrastructure to support data center. And then what does the electric utility do? They say, now we got to raise everybody's rates to pay for essentially one user. And so all this says is that if you're going to come into our community, you need to pay your way, pay your fair share. And that's not unprecedented, actually. Meta, their data center in Las Lunas, has an individualized service contract with PNM that requires them to pay their share of the new infrastructure. The water utility also does that. If you build a building, any kind of building, you pay your share of the system. The system doesn't pay for you. So it's basic fairness. We don't need to raise our rates on low-income seniors, small businesses, to pay for Meta and Microsoft and OpenAI. It needs to be the other way around. Clean energy, that's part of it, right? We need to make sure that this is clean energy. We can't keep digging the hole on climate deeper and deeper and deeper, which we're continuing to do. And then lastly is water. And we know that they use a ton of water. And so this just says, if you're going to come into our community, if you're going to hook up to our water, whether it's a water system, a private well, however you're going to do that, you've got to offset that water use somewhere else in the system. So whether that's fixing leaks, whether that's repairing riparian habitat to remove invasive species, and do that in a way that's third-party verified, right? So that it is independent. It's not just them saying they did it or they're going to do it. And I'll close with this. All of those requirements only apply if you're asking for public money. If Sam Altman or Mark Zuckerberg or any of the richest men on the planet want to come in here and build a data center at their own expense, this does not apply. And I wish it could, quite frankly, but this is only conditioned on using county incentives. If you want us to invest public money in your project by forgiving taxes, because that's what we do, then you better meet these basic requirements. And one other thing I left out. It requires a minimum tax to be paid to the county, and it requires that we hold harmless our schools, our hospital, and our environmental organizations like our flood control and our Middle Rio Grande Conservancy, so that the data centers need to pay the taxes to those entities that support the entire community, including the data center. So it's really just about having some guardrails there so that if and when these projects come to our door knocking and saying we want tax abatement, because that's probably what they're going to do, an IRB, we say to them, great, we have this set of parameters you can meet or exceed, and then you may be considered to qualify for this. And if you don't, that's fine. You can go your own way. You can still build here if you have the property rights and all the agreements. Frankly, I hope our state legislators and others above our pay grade can deal with that problem. But this is really only about county incentives and when we'll invest in a data center project, if we invest at all. So with that, I make a motion for introduction.
Second. Thank you. And we have a motion and a second, open for discussion.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Barbara Baca.
I'll be very brief. I think that was a very good description. This was a late add-on, so this will give us time for this to be introduced, and then we'll consider it again in 2 weeks. But I think that it is very responsible and difficult to take a look at this issue. Other communities are nationwide, and so I applaud the effort. And I think looking at what these guardrails are, what they really mean in terms of creating a workforce here locally, I think is a really good thing. We need to make sure that the goals that we set in this and the parameters we set are achievable. And that's my only concern about it, is taking a look at this and making sure that what we're expecting of any entity or private business that comes in and proposes this, that we build that workforce, or we have the capability of our requirements, being fulfilled in this. So I'm really interested in looking more deeply at that and what that means, but I think this is a very important piece of legislation. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Olivas, I appreciate the guardrails, but I do know that the last time a data center came to Bernalillo County seeking an IRB, it was rejected. It didn't even come to the commission because the economic department declined to consider it because it didn't meet our own criteria, which was really lack of jobs. There was job creation in the construction, but not beyond that. My concern with the language that's posted here is that it will, it's more of a message saying, I'm afraid it's a message saying we don't want business coming, whether it's a data center or more than that. I don't think we're gonna be approached. So that, by the way, that data center ended up going to Sandoval County, Valencia County, and they took it. It met their requirements, they took it. Meanwhile, from what I know, the tour I took of the Facebook plant is they already implemented a lot of these criteria themselves just for costs in terms of the water recycling. They're doing a lot of air cooling, just breaking technology to reduce their own costs. P&M has agreements privately with them, and they set that up themselves as well. Finally, I know C&M has a pipeline for students to get educated for AI data centers. It is the future, and my concern is they'll have to leave Bernalillo County along with everyone else to go get jobs. And that's my concern, is that this is more just anti-business than it will help save the economy or the ecology, I guess. That's not going to be a concern. I think jobs and continuing to support our citizens on food stamps I think that's the concern. Getting good paying jobs, yeah, let's get it, but I think this is not going to create the good paying jobs. I don't think it'll bring good paying jobs. So that's my concern with this ordinance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Benson. And yes, Commissioner Vice Chair Bach.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is an issue, and I'm glad it's brought forward. I will support the introduction of the resolution. I do, however, and I know that there's a project down in Doña Ana County, and I know there's some further discussion. I don't know if it's buyer's remorse. I don't know if it's community driven or the government driven. So I know that there's some concern about, I think there's a lot of concern just generally in a climate like New Mexico with water usage and carbon and energy requirements, all that. It's very complicated. I don't pretend like I understand it. It sounds like Commissioner Olivas and Benson have a much better handle already than I certainly do. But I just hope that that there's there's further discussion about this, because if this is not good for Bernalillo County, it's not good for the city of Albuquerque, it's not good for Valencia County, it's not good for Sandoval County, it's not good for the state of New Mexico. So part of my thinking oftentimes is that, what is the jurisdictional limit that we have, and what is the reach we have in terms of educating and informing people about this? And I know there's concern out there, we've seen public comments and just talking to people. I know there's concern about that. I also know technology is advancing, so I think if we continue to have a dialogue about this, then I think there's a good chance that more folks will agree this is not a good thing for the state of New Mexico, and explain why, not just just based on gut feeling that this is not good. So I'm always in favor of education, information, discussion, debate, and I hope this will prompt a lot of that here locally to fully understand the implications of this. And, you know, this kind of ties in a little bit too with, to our economic development group and their recommendations and kind of thinking that at some point in time they might be coordinated or married, because it's not only what we don't want, is what we do want. And I think that's something that should be part of an overall strategy in terms of who are we actively recruiting and what are the parameters of the companies that we really are recruiting. And I, you know, when I hear people talking about, you know, high-paying jobs, yeah, I mean, I'm on board. I mean, that's what we want. We want people that are paid well in this community, and I think that to look at it that way, I don't think is a negative. It's a positive. Talking about, you know, yes, there are low-paying jobs, minimum wage jobs out there, and they serve a role. They serve a purpose. I get it. But to also think about what we want, and I think we should, you know, as the policy board, along with the city and along with the state, you know, I think it's really important for us to self-identify ourselves as governments who want certain things, and what we want is to benefit our community, improve the environment, improve the economic health of our community, and I think you do that by having you know, open and frank discussions and just taking everybody's position and to heart and listening and talking. But I do have concerns about this at this point in time, the data center just in general, so I'm definitely supporting the motion, and I just hope that this will lead to continued discussion about this, because it could be bad for New Mexico. I don't know enough to say at this point in time, but I will say I have significant concerns about it. It's a good thing for us to know.
Thank you, Vice Chair Baca. I just wanted to, and I see a couple of folks that made public comment, and I'm sure more are watching online. Thank you, Commissioner Olivas, for really explaining. You know, growing up in New Mexico, have family in South Valley, in New Mexico, water is sacred. And so even I've been able to be privy to some of the debate going on in Doñana County and in repurposing and doing the things. This is our sacred water, and there's plenty of parts of the country that have greater water than we do. And so I hope that our folks watching that made those, I'm really thankful to all the folks that came out and provided those public comments, because we're in alignment, right? And it's so important to hear directly from our community that they have concerns too. And so I'm thankful to Commissioner Olivas for bringing this. I really see it as a proactive way to say we are making, and I do see it as a clear signal that we are saying we prioritize our community, we prioritize our healthy water, and that is the statement. If you're gonna come here, then you need to come here on your own dollar. You're not gonna get tax breaks from us to be able to use our water and take from our communities, especially, and even more so with what Commissioner Benson has mentioned around, we know that these data centers don't provide long-term jobs. They don't provide jobs. They take space, water, and resources so that people can make fake AI stuff. I understand it to be the future as well, but I don't think it should come at the cost of our water, which we can't survive without. So I support this motion, and I hope that we do have 2 weeks till it's affirmed or voted fully on. And yeah, I think that I just want to thank again all the people that are actively involved in fighting for our environment and came out to do public comment today. Would you like to close this out? Or?
If I may, just briefly, and I wanted to reiterate to Commissioner Baca's comment that sort of a maybe an underappreciated section of this resolution, but I think just as important, is it's directing our legislative priorities as it relates to this to align with this resolution. So not only is it setting forth sort of an economic development policy if somebody comes in with a project, but it's directing our county manager and our lobbyists that at the state and federal level, we are going to pursue a strategy that is equal or compatible with this approach. And I think that's incredibly important, and I think many of us have had legislators, I did have legislators reach out to me today and yesterday about this. And so clearly it's hitting the policymakers at the state level as well. And so I think that it puts us in that conversation, puts us at the table to be able to have that discussion as, and I think from a proactive leadership position, to say that we believe this is the way you do this right. I'm not saying this is perfect, and I'm open to that feedback, and I already have, and I'm planning to reach out to every single person that reached out to us on this, including the opponents, to hear them out and hear their thoughts. So I'm not saying this is 100% correct. I would love to entertain changes to it. How does it get better? But the core tenet of this that I'm not going to compromise from is that these deals need to benefit our community. Bottom line, that's my North Star on this, is that if you want to bring a data center to our community that really doesn't have a lot of jobs and doesn't have a lot of social benefits to the world, it better be a damn good deal for the citizens of my county. They better benefit from it, and it better be very clear how that's going to work. And if it doesn't, then it's not a good deal. And that's the way I approach it. And so I think that we've got that base covered, Commissioner Baca, from that perspective of having that larger policy conversation. And then lastly, do want to engage with the county manager and with Marcos and his team a little bit more. Some of the comments indicated that perhaps this needed to be an ordinance instead of a resolution to carry the proper weight. And I want to make sure that it doesn't just become nothing, meaningless. We want this to really have meaning and impact. If it is a policy the commission decides to move forward, we want to make sure that it's the law of the land effectively. So with that, I would urge your support.
Yes, County Manager.
Thank you. I did hear a couple of questions that I wanted to make sure, to your point, that the staff had an opportunity to come back with some feedback. I think one that you asked, Commissioner Barbara Baca, is about the jobs, and I think it's an important question. What's the average number of jobs it takes to build a data center? What are the skill sets required? And then to the really important point, how many jobs are there? I think a second question that Commissioner Frank Baca raised is better understanding the implications of action at a local level relative to statewide policies, I think is what you were asking, Commissioner Baca. May I confirm that? Yes?
Correct.
That's accurate. And then I think the other question, and it's a bigger one, but maybe one that's just worth better understanding. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the water usage and just, again, understanding what's the average water usage. And I think in your resolution, Commissioner, you talked about how the electricity and I think water are ascribed to the surrounding communities. And so what I'd like to do is at least get for lack of a better word, sort of a high-level fact sheet together so that you have something, back to your point, Commissioner Baca, that you can debate, because I think one of the challenges is people have very different understandings of data centers. I think you have thought about data centers, Commissioner Olivas, probably more than others have, and so maybe just having a little level setting about what they do. And then the last question I really wanted to ask the maker of the motion and the seconder of the motion is the value of perhaps, because I genuinely don't know this, and I think there's some state legislation going on, and for our next meeting, we have sort of a placeholder so that we can take any new legislative issues up. And so I do want to take a look at any legislation that may already be in process along this lines, if there is any. And I will apologize to the commission that because the session is so lively and short, we're not going to have a ton of time before we start putting things on the agenda, but we are going to be agendizing, for example, a little bit of framework around how we're approaching housing and some other issues. But I do think if there is something at the legislative level that may be of value, just to understand what it is, because it goes back to the point that Commissioner Frank Baca raised about what are the implications of actions that we take at a local level. Did I catch everybody? Did I miss you, Commissioner Benson?
No, you're good.
Okay, I got everybody's information or request for information, so we'll just do a fact sheet, kind of high level as best we can, because this is a tight turnaround for 2 weeks.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank you. I just wanted to add that I think Commissioner Baca, Frank Baca mentioned an important thing. How does this dovetail with the work, the larger work we're working on with the economic development that we've been working on for this past year? And I want you to know, County Manager, I haven't had a chance to talk to you yet, but I'm putting together something that I will be bringing forward tomorrow as a proposed agenda item that is kind of giving direction and encapsulating some of the high priorities that are a result of that year's work, and with the steering committee and on the same kind of thing. How are we deciding on these tax abatements and these tax incentives that also relate back to the community benefits, the creation of workforce, the relating to sustainability, all of the things that we're talking about here. It's not specific to this one industry, it's more of the broader approach. So I will be bringing that forward as a proposal for an introduction, and I'll share it with you before I.
And you just at your direction, we do have an item coming back, and so the committee is gonna present their rubric to you?
Right.
Okay.
Well, yes, they're gonna present a informational item, but I'm bringing something forward that I'll talk with you about, but for action, for introduction, but ultimate action. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you for the debate, and we will have, it'll be heard and voted on in 2 weeks' time. I guess I was gonna add to the motion, you know, Doniana just went through this, so I bet they have a lot of the information that you are seeking to bring forward to us, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 No.
Thank you. Passes on a 4-1 vote. And we are moving on to item number 14, announcement of the next commission meeting, which is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, special zoning meeting at 1 p.m. here in Ken Sanchez Commission Chambers, and as well on Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, administrative meeting at 5 p.m. here in our Ken Sanchez Commission Chambers. If there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good job, Madam Chair. And good luck with it.